Welcome to the Seraphine podcast. I am Seraphine Arocha, and I am back with part 3 of my conversation with my dear friend Tom Beaver. Hello, hello.
Hi, nice to be here.
So we are going to get right on in. And again, I'm going to have you serve to me with our next topic.
Which was separating the artist from the person.
Yes.
Otherwise known as, what do they call it? It's escaping my mind right now. We've only heard it constantly for the last 8 years.
The Woody Allen syndrome? No, I'm kidding.
No. Cancel culture.
Cancel culture. I gotcha.
Cancel culture. So I have a knee-jerk response to it. I don't even want it to enter my vocabulary. I hate it.
Yeah.
I absolutely hate cancel culture. I think it's ridiculously dangerous. I think it's obscene the way it's been totally picked up as this thing that's completely okay in the culture. Mm-hmm. Obviously, if you're canceling Harvey Weinstein, it's great. He's a rapist. He's a psycho. He should be in jail.
Yeah.
Common sense. But when you're canceling and destroying people's careers because of something they said that was suspect about the Asian culture in 1994, now you're getting into a really weird area that's, to me, is kind of 1984 Orwellian. What's it going to be tomorrow?
Yeah.
Today you don't like him saying this. What are you not going to like him saying tomorrow? And who gets to decide that it's not something you can say or do?
Well, that's the beauty, I think, right now of it's the beauty now of these kind of situations, whether it be podcasts or whether you're somebody who, for instance, comedians right now. I have a lot of respect for just comedians in general right now, because they are digging deep. A lot of them are. There's been so many comedians that have just been beaten down for jokes that they made XYZ years ago. Now, Louis C.K., the jerking off in front of women, sorry, a little gross. And frankly, do we need him? No, he was fine. I'm glad that, he made me laugh. I saw him. I actually did see him in New York. But is he that important to keep in comedic culture and to forgive? I don't think so.
Well, now we're into that who gets to decide mode, right?
Well, the thing is that he's...
A lot of people love Louis C.K.
Sure, and he can write jokes for other people. Unfortunately, I think they're going to have to be for other people, because I just don't think there's many people who want to attach that boat to that trailer.
But isn't that censorship?
I don't know. Is it? I mean, if he's someone who is literally jerking off backstage, in front of the people who are hosting him.
Are we going to stop listening to Rolling Stones songs? How many people do you think Mick Jagger and Keith Richards have jerked off in front of him?
Well, here's the deal is,
you know what I mean?
And again, it's about, who gets caught, right? And I guess I'm at a place now where...
The rock stars, that's a whole... I don't know. I think we've talked about
the rock stars are
forgiven. I don't know how they've escaped all this stuff that's happening with actors and politicians.
Except for R. Kelly.
Yeah, well, he's
disgusting. And again, when you go to if you're going
himself.
The children thing is I'm sorry. I will not. I'm somebody who has hard lines of I don't even like to debate about age and consent.
Yeah.
Because I think that is something where we have evolved as human beings, where we know what's right and what's wrong. But I do think, celebrities are just so interesting now, because you can feel a change in the tides. You can really understand.
Well, they're scared, aren't they?
They are. They're terrified.
Scared. Yeah, they're scared. And they've got their publicists saying, Don't do this, don't do that. It's like when A Rainy Day in New York came out, the last movie Woody Allen made in the States. Timothy Chalamet, all these people came out and said, we want to give our salaries away for I forget what they donated it to, but they, and Woody Allen came out and said, well, that's fine. I mean, I don't pay him anything anyway. I pay all my actors scale. So it's not really some big testament to your heroism to give up give up your pay for the Michael Bay movie. I mean, of course, they have no reason to do that
Yeah.
because Michael Bay's not Woody Allen. But what he was saying is, it's not really some great, heroic feat to give up your money for being paid in my movie, because I don't pay that much. I pay scale. So, and what were they really protesting?
Well, and the thing is
Well,
what do you do? All right, in that situation, I would like to know if you agreed to do the film, and you are in that situation where, like, well, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know. All right, what do you suggest they do?
What do you mean? If you're Timothée Chalamet or Kate Winslet
or Selena Gomez.
Kate Winslet was in Wonder Wheel, and then I read these interviews with Kate Winslet, and she said, and I don't want to pick on them. I love these actors. I think they're fantastic. But it's like, I read where I love their work. I think their work is fantastic. Yeah. Kate Winslet came out and said, I was so excited when I got the script for the Woody Allen movie. I sat on my porch and read it, and this was such a great character, and I couldn't wait to tackle it, and working with Woody Allen. And then boom, I now renounce Woody Allen because this is the way the winds are blowing. I'm going to completely renounce him, and I regret ever working with him. And I think she also said she regretted working with Roman Polanski. And these publicists come up to these actors and they say, you're going to have to change your tune. This has got to change because this is where the cultural winds are blowing. Now, whether it's valid or not, in the case of Woody Allen, we don't want to get into that. Yeah. It's going to be but it's like, there is no hard proof. There's only hearsay of some of that stuff, and I'm not going to jump on the condemnation train. I need more. I'm not going to join the mob and the chorus of disapproval until I have hard proof of these things. And I do think there's a tremendous amount of hypocrisy in the way some of these actors just readily renounce things because that's the way the cultural winds are blowing. But at one time they were like, maybe I'll get my Oscar. Now I'm, because Woody Allen has written a lot of Oscar-winning roles for women, primarily for women in his 50-year career.
And maybe that's out of his guilt. I don't know. But
Guilt for what?
We won't go there. It's funny. And the reason why we won't go there for our listeners is that, both Tom and I.
It's because nobody cares about Woody Allen.
No one cares about Woody Allen anymore.
Who? Who?
Yeah, people. And unfortunately,
I do, but
he's kind of in his coffin anyway, at least in the United States.
He's 80-something years old.
I think where I'm at is I'll actually bring it into the Michael Jackson realm for me.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
I think
we're going into Neverland.
It was hard for me, and like it's hard for everyone. And again, not hard for me. Like, oh my God, it's because he was one of my first albums. He was one of my first posters. He was one of my first crushes. I know the lyrics to so many of his songs. I have so many fond memories in my childhood. I even had his glove. I loved Halloween even more because of Thriller. And then this happened, and it was like a car wreck to where I didn't want to look, had to look. Then because I think I have battled within my own self of being, a young girl and a young woman who has felt that was inappropriate. Like I could feel as a little girl, like that I knew that feeling. And I think it was really hard for me because when I watched the people who came forward about Michael Jackson,
who were a lot of them looking to collect checks from National Enquirer.
Yes and no, and others who, frankly, at the end of the day, I'm sorry, nobody wants to describe sexual abuse. I don't care how much you get paid, and a lot of them didn't. A lot of them refused to be paid as well. Some of them did, some of them didn't. And, the other thing that was very conflicting was how many people came forward and said, no, this is not our Michael. We love our Michael. He would never do this. And being in this really strange space of I I've always been a dancer, and his music has always been on my playlist. And there was a good period of time where I took all of his music out of my playlist because I didn't want to trigger someone.
That's interesting to me because I don't, to me, I guess it's preferences. It comes down to what exactly did the person do and how horrific is it, and whether or not your personal preference has a threshold for that. Mm-hmm. But it's like, to me, Michael Jackson's music is still amazing.
Yeah.
It still touched you. It's still the same emotions coming from the guy. The guy may or may not have had massive flaws, mm-hmm. massive ones, criminal ones maybe in a lot of these cases. But what does that have to, you sit down and write a beautiful poem, and I give it to you and you read it, and it still affects you. It's still something you're experiencing in that moment. Now, if I killed somebody 2 days ago, does that change your perspective?
I think, it's a little off base because we're talking about artists here. Mm-hmm. We're talking about people of, celebrity, and about forgiveness. And I guess...
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's what it really comes down to.
And
Are you going to eliminate forgiveness from the vocabulary?
And I do think that it's a touchy subject because the other person who I had a really hard time with was Michael Vick. But the more I understood, so Michael Vick was a football player who was involved with dogs and dog fighting and betting, and these you know who I am. I love animals, but
dog fighting,
yes. And the thing that I was schooled on was how he grew up and how he perceived dogs, and again, what in his mind he had learned was right and wrong. Mm-hmm. Now he has since then he's humbled himself, and I understand.
He said it was wrong to make dogs fight each other?
Well, to the point, I mean, again, I think it's atrocious.
It's
terrible.
Think it's
disgusting.
I love animals, yeah.
But in the next breath, I do believe people should get a second chance. Does it mean that I'm going to ever wear his jersey?
Yeah, and it's perspective, right? I mean, that's a little different than raping, hundreds of women over 30, 40 years, or it's all you have to keep things in. Trying to think of the right word. It's this was a big issue when the Me Too movement started. Mm-hmm. It's like, this is not the same as that. You have to differentiate between these two things. There are scales of wrongdoing, and you have to look. If you can't differentiate between them, now you're getting into a really hairy area.
But I also reserve the right to have a very strong opinion to say, I think you can do better as an athlete who, unfortunately, no matter how many athletes want to say, or how many celebrities or whoever want to say, I am not, someone that you should aspire to be, a mentor, an idol.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
They are. And I think it's
especially with the younger eyeballs.
It's irresponsible, and frankly, that's where I say their celebrity card should be taken away. Because I think when you step in and you get the paycheck that you do, and you understand and you make the films that make people feel a certain way, you write a song that says a certain thing, and then you do exactly the opposite, mm-hmm. You don't deserve it.
I'm going to have to disagree with you wholeheartedly on that.
Really?
Yeah, I just don't think, I think that's a scary direction to go in. Again, it comes back to who gets to decide that the celebrity mm-hmm. card gets taken away, and who gets to decide what the reason is. This guy or gal's behavior is worse than this other guy or gal's behavior. Mm-hmm. I'm going to decide that. I'm going to be the one to take away, as you mm-hmm. say, your celebrity card. That to me gets a little scary. It's almost a little Gestapo. It kind of gets into an area that, I hear what you're saying. You get passionate about something and you say, well, that, like the thing with the dogs, it pisses you off.
Well, and I also think that, if you are someone who is, for instance, if you're on a children's TV show and you're snorting cocaine off of a stripper's boob, you're not in the right profession. I'm sorry. You shouldn't even put yourself in that situation.
Now, are you doing this in front of the children?
I love you. But I mean, but seriously, I mean, I guess it's like, why not?
I totally
why
hear
not?
you.
Why not
you
put
know.
yourself in an area to where you're actually making your life a little easier? If you've got bad behavior, then you know what? Pick more bad boy roles. You know, whatever. What
Or
I can't
stay out of the public eye.
Or stay out of the public eye.
Stay out of the
or,
public eye.
Or at least, but when people are diabolically two different people, to me, that's where I'm
That's
like,
unnerving.
it's unnerving.
Yeah.
It is.
It's like you're dealing with a sociopath.
100%.
But, you know, most actors would argue that they do have sociopathic tendencies.
I
a
agree.
lot of artists.
No. And it does feel good.
I mean, a little wobbly.
And it does feel good to dabble in feelings that, you know, I mean, forget it. I mean, I just talked about rage last episode, and it feels really good. I'm not a rage person, but I fantasized about like being a boxer and just like, I mean, when I watch the MMA fights, I'm like, there's a part of me that just wants to do that.
Yeah.
But at the heart of me, when I'm in front of somebody and if they were challenging me, am I going to go, you know, try and give them a right hook? I probably won't.
I just think that, you know, it's like you think about propaganda in Nazi Germany. And when, you know, the Third Reich stepped in and said, you're not allowed to do this. We're taking those books away.
Yeah.
No, you can't put on that play. That play is a little subversive. I mean, everybody knows about that crap.
Yeah.
But it's like, is it going to come to that in this country? And when could it come to that in this country? And when the Me Too movement started, which I'm all for, like I said, when I was a kid, I used to think this is so odd the way, like, why do women get regarded that way? And why is that going? Totally needs to shift. I think women should be in control of a lot of things. A woman president, woman producers, great. Give them the reins. I think it's a good idea. Men been fucking things up for a while. Let them take the reins and let's see what happens. But it's like the Me Too movement started gaining this mob mentality thing where it was like a machine that was eating up all these people, ruining careers, jumping to, you know, conclusions with people and not examining it, not researching it. It was almost like this out of control monster that was like destroying lives left and right. And I kept thinking when it was going on, how easy would it be for a political party to ride right over the back of this movement and use it as an excuse to censor all kinds of things in the culture? You know, that's what always scares me. It's the thing that I'll think about when I'm falling asleep at night. Could that happen? You know, using these like micro issues, not that that's not important. Yeah. It's a really important issue, but it's like a micro issue in terms of like genocide or changing the way people think or getting into like propaganda mechanisms that could be implemented as a result of the culture being so okay with censorship and canceling all these things. In the name, I was doing it in the name of that yesterday, but today I'm going to do it in the name of this because I've decided to.
Yeah.
And that is, to me, one of the most terrifying things about what I've seen in the last 15 years. And I actually think it's possible, more possible than people are aware of.
I agree with you. And on that note, that was part 3
that was
of,
dark.
of my conversation.
Go get a donut and take
But I will tell you, we've got one more round, part 4. I am lobbing back to my friend. Where I'd like to go with our conversation next is 100% about where we are going.
In the future.
Where we're going in the future, because we just got out of COVID, and it came on literally on the heels of Me Too, Black Lives Matter. What did we do sitting in that room percolating on all of this? And what are we going to do here coming out of it? Stay tuned. If you liked what you heard on the Seraphine podcast, please click like, subscribe. And as always, I'm curious to hear about what you thought about this episode. Thank you so much for listening.